thank you all for joining. And today, as I was just starting to mention, we'll focus on just the Pallavi aspect of Ragam-Thanam-Pallavi. So we'll not be focusing so much on the Ragam and Thanam. That can be a separate session. And I have picked a simple Pallavi in Mohanam, in Adi Talam, Samam, so that it's as less stressful as it possibly can, because I do understand some of you may be entirely new to Pallavi singing. When it comes to an RTP, there are many things to do. Since it is a completely improvisational exercise, it is not like a kriti where you have some hard and fast rules. For example, one of the exciting aspects of a Pallavi is the speed switches, right? What we call as the Trikalam, Tisram and all that. But I would like you to understand that it is entirely optional to have these speed switches. You may choose to just do Neraval for the Pallavi line and follow it up with Kalpanaswaram. So none of the different steps are mandatory. I mean, if at all anything is mandatory, it would be probably the Neraval aspect of it, which is actually the more challenging one, I would say, because you have to do it spontaneously, and the syllables or the meter of the Pallavi should be kept intact. So let me talk a little bit about the ground rules of Pallavi singing. Normally, we have what is known as the structure of the Pallavi. I have heard people use the word as for that. It is basically how the Pallavi flows across the Tala cycle. So normally a Pallavi is always one Avartanam of Tala cycle, the line. You cannot have a Pallavi that takes like 5 or 6 Tala cycles. That is not normal. Generally, the Pallavi line will coincide with one Avartanam of the Tala cycle. You can sing it in any ragam of your choice. You can choose any lyrics of your choice. You can even take a well-known kriti, take one line from the kriti and make it the Pallavi. It's your imagination that is the limit here. You can even choose to sing Vatapi Ganapatim in Hamsadvani in the same structure as your Pallavi. The second thing to understand is that you define the meter of the Pallavi, where every syllable lands in the Talam structure, and you try to adhere to it throughout the Pallavi singing. You cannot change, for example, the Eduppu, which is the starting point, then the Arudhi. Arudhi is the point where we transition from the Lagu to the Dhrutam. So at that point, normally there will be a syllable. In all Pallavis, you will find that the Arudhi will always have a syllable coinciding with it. So that is another ground rule. And where every word or every syllable rather falls is somewhat sacrosanct. However, during Neraval singing, you are allowed to slightly move the syllables here and there as you want your music to flow nicely. However, the Eduppu, which is the starting point, and the Arudhi, which is the transition point from one segment of the Talam to another, which is namely the Lagu to the Dhritam, that remains unchanged.
Can you give an example of Arudhi?
For example, Tat Tadimi Tadimi Dimi Yendradum. Here I have a syllable in that dum. Okay, this is Kanda Jati Triputatalam Pallavi. I chose this because it has a few other interesting aspects. It is what we call as Atita Eduppu Pallavi, where you start the music before the Talam, before the Samam itself. Tadimi Tadimi Dimi Yendradum. Here that dum comes, right? I'll sing another Pallavi. So this is Anahata Eduppu, where you start the Talam and then start the music. So it is not Samam. Ayyane aatkul meyane yenai muttu murugayane aatkul meyane. So this is Chatushra Jati Jampatalam. Here again, in that Arudhi part, we have the word, we have the syllable rather, ne. Tisragati Pallavi, where the Eduppu is again Anahata Eduppu. It starts on your pinky. So 1, 2, 3. Ta madam taga taya tani gai muru gai ta madam taga taya. So again, we have that ya in the Arudhi part. Normally, when the Pallavi line is first sung, the main artist will sing or play like 4 to 5 times, typically like at least 4 times. because the accompanists or co-artists may not be very familiar with it. In Pallavis, it is better to keep the structure watertight as far as possible. And if at all something gets moved during the Neraval rendition, try to at least make the Aruthi land where it should be. And then after the Neraval, we have the Trikalam. If somebody doesn't want to do Trikalam, just wants to do Neraval followed by Kalpanaswarams, absolutely nothing wrong. So Trikalam is basically 3 speeds. And the easiest way to relate to it is go back to your Sarali verses. It's the same concept. You have the normal speed in which you have sung the Pallavi so far. You have the speed, that is the first column. The normal speed is the second column, and then you double the speed, and that becomes your third column. You can do other things. You can change the gati. In a Chatusra Gati Pallavi, you can make it Tisram while singing the Trikalam. You can do Kandam where you will have 5. You can even do Misram if you have Tala control for that. But doing Kandam, Misram, etc., it gets more and more difficult. Most artists stick to Tisram. And there are other things you can do as well, where you keep the Pallavi singing speed constant and you just halve and double the Tala speed. That is called the Pratilomam. That is less often heard these days, mainly due to paucity of time. After you do the Trikalam, then you can go into Kalpanaswarams. Again, even with the Neraval part, you can choose to do a Ragamalika Neraval. You don't have to stick to the Ragam in which you originally sang. You can change the Ragams to Neraval in that. Then again, coming to the Kalpanaswaram, first speed, second speed, again Ragamalika may be done. So there's a lot of techniques that can be done for this. And sometimes you also have special Pallavis, which are Ragamalika Pallavis. Like every segment of the Pallavi could be in a different Ragam. You have Dviraga Pallavis in 2 ragas, Triraga in 3, then Chatur Raga 4. So many types of Pallavis are there. So the like I said, sky is the limit. And as we keep exploring, we realize that it is a very, very interesting subject. We also have Pallavis where the Purvangam, that is the first half, is in one Gati. The second half is in a different Gati. Okay. So this one is in Mohanam, Aditalam. So hopefully it's somewhat easy to try. But again, as with any Pallavi, it comes with its own set of structuring challenges. The student needs to be somewhat strong on the Laya front, the Tala front. What I've tried to do is to actually notate the basic structure of the Pallavi. Rhythmic structure totals 32, which is the number of aksharas in Rendu Kalai Aditalam cycle. So let me sing the Pallavi. Rama Rajiva Lochana Rara Mohana Rama Rajiva Lochana Rara Mohana. So that is the basic structure. Sangeeta, you want to go?
Sure. Rama Rajiva Lochana Rara Mohana Rama.
Very good. Okay, Vidvata and then Bhuvan. Yeah.
Rama Rajiva Lochana Rara Mohana Rama.
So let's do one round of Neraval. Rama Rajiva Lochana Rara Mohana Rama Rajiva Lochana Rara Mohana Rama Rajiva Lochana Rara Mohana Rama Rajiva Lochana. So I just explored the raga a little bit and came back to the original tune. That is the convention. However, you may choose to even change the original tune when you conclude the round of Neraval. But coming back to the original tune makes it clear to the other artists on stage as well as the audience that you have completed that round of Neraval. So that's why we generally have the convention of coming back to the original tune. So you guys can try one round of Neraval in the same order that you went just now.
Rama Rajiva Lochana Ramohana Rama Rama Rajiva Lochana Rama Rama Rajiva Lochana Mohana Rama Rajiva Lochana Mohana Rama Rajiva Lochana Rajiva Lochana Mohana Rama Rajiva Lochana Mohana Rama Rajiva Lochana
Good attempt by all of you. Next, we will do intermediate and fast speed Neraval. Rama Rajiva Lochana Rara Mohana 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 Rama Rajiva Lochana. Once you've done that, and every time you give a turn to your violinist, then you will get into the Trikalam aspect. So let's go into that. So Trikalam first is halving the speed. So what took 1 avartanam in the normal speed will now take half avartanam. And again with Pallavis, I also want you to be aware that there are a lot of complex Pallavis. You know, there are Pallavis in complex Tala structures. There are Pallavis which can be sung in 4 kalai. We are doing rendu kalai, right? 4 kalai is, every beat is done 4 times. And my guru used to say, they used to do even 8 kalai Pallavis. Rama Rajiva Lochana Rara Mohana 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 Rama Rajiva Lochana Mohan 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 Rama
Rama Rajiva Lochana Mohan Rama Rajiva Lochana Mohan Rama Rajiva Lochana Mohan Rama Rajiva Lochana Mohan Rama
Rajiva Lochana Radha Mohan Rama Rajiva Lochana Radha Mohan Rama Rajiva Lochana Radha Mohan Rama Rajiva Lochana Radha Mohan Rama Rajiva Lochana.
As you could see, what took 1 avartanam earlier now only took you half avartanam. So you were able to sing 4 times in 2 avartanams. So in the super slow speed, we are able to sing just 1 time across 2 avartanams. It's basically half the original speed. In the normal speed, each avartanam you sing one time. So 2 times if you sing, it will take 2 avartanams. In Tisram, you are going to take 2 avartanams and sing it 3 times. And in the fast speed, you're going to take 2 avartanams to sing 4 times. So those are the speed switches we saw just now.
Rama Rajiva Lochana Mohan Rama.
After that, we would basically get into the Kalpana Swaram part of it. Rama Rajiva Lochana Dasadava Pagari Sari Rama Dasari Gasadari Sudavada Gapadagari Sasadavagari Rama Rajiva Lochana. In the Kalpana Swaram, just like you would do for any Kriti, you can do 2 speeds. Rama Rajiva. I already sang slow speed. Gapada sari gari sari sada ba gapada sada ba gada ba gari sari gari Rama. You can do that. You can do a lot of fun things. Like instead of doing the Kalpana Swaram only for Rama, right? You can try to sing Rama da ba da ba gare ga pa da da ba da sa da ba gare sa re ga pa da sa re ga Ramo Rama pa ga pa da ba ga pa da sa da pa da re sa da ga pa da sa re ga re sa da ba ga pa da re sa da ba ga pa da ba Mohan Rama. You can take different points in the Pallavi, and since this Pallavi so beautifully has a raga name, you can do a lot of Kalpana Swarams which start with that Mohana Rama. That is a nice thing to do. Another thing you could do is, after you do this, right, a few times, switch to Orukalai. So, Mohana Rama Rajiva Lochana Ra Mohana. I'm singing the fast speed in Orukalai. And for that, you can do Kalpana Swara. Amara Jiva Uchana Gabada Sari Sada Bagabari Ramara Jiva Chana Bagabada Bagabada Bagabari Karegapada Siraya Mohana Rama Bhagavada Bhagavada Bhagarisada Bhagava Mohana Rama. So various things you can try. Then you can even go into like a Raga Malika. So Rama Rajiva Lochana Gamada Madani Saga Dari Sangita Maga Gamada Gada Damaga Gamada Dada Maga Gamadani Saga Dani 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 Damaga Madani Rama Rajiva Lochana Ra Mohana Rama. Like that you can change.
Just the right amount of information for basic, like just an introductory class.
This is really helpful, Vidya. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you all for joining. And Manodharmam has many topics that we can explore. Anytime you hear a Pallavi, try to decode the underlying structure and jot it down in some book or digital format. That way it doesn't get forgotten over time. And then you try to do different things with it when time permits. So thank you all. And with that, let's call it a day. A real pleasure to have you all.